Today, many ethnic groups are considered white in the United States, but that's not how it started, and that's because race is a construct which includes whiteness. The idea of whiteness as we understand it today can be traced all the way back to the 1500s with the creation of the Great Chain of Being, in which white Western Europeans placed themselves up at the top as closest to God, with everyone else beneath them. This was used to justify slavery and colonization. In the United States, the Nationality Act of 1790 limited citizenship to free white persons exclusively, and that law wasn't fully dismantled until 1952 with the Immigrant and Nationality Act. Talk about white privilege. Which, by the way, is the unearned power and systemic advantages that white people receive in a society built for their benefit. This doesn't mean that if you're white, your life won't be hard. It just won't be hard because you're white. It might be difficult because you're poor or disabled or something else, though. When the Irish arrived in the United States in the 1800s, they were not considered white. They were not enslaved under chattel slavery in the United States, but they were forced to be indentured servants, and in many cases served as overseers on plantations. They were considered intermediaries between black and white people. When Italians immigrated to the United States in larger numbers, they were segregated from public spaces and subjected to slurs, lynching, and mass attacks. They were not considered white. Polish, Romanian, and other Eastern European immigrants also suffered similar horrific treatment. As more immigrants arrived in the United States, the definition of whiteness expanded, along with the privileges attached, and this was all in opposition to blackness and indigeneity. And laws were even passed to prevent European immigrants from mixing with and aligning themselves with black and indigenous people in what are called anti-miscegenation laws. And just as ethnic groups were brought into whiteness, some were kicked out. Mexican Americans were considered white from 1850 until 1920 in the census. And today, ICE is targeting them and many other groups with extreme racial prejudice that's reminiscent of Jim Crow and Japanese incarceration. As these many groups became white, they were indoctrinated into something called white supremacy, which is the false belief in the racial superiority of white people and the idea that they should dominate all aspects of society. Like whose history matters and what history should be taught. Fighting white supremacy starts with acknowledging white privilege and its lasting impacts through things like the black maternal mortality rate and the racial wealth gap. So next time you ask why we don't have a White History Month, remember that in the United States, white history is considered the default.
Smarter in seconds.